So welcome to Everyone Has a Voice. This is our second event for the 2025-2026 year. A special thank you to Director Paul Engel for supporting the art of poetry and giving us the space, and our beloved Philip Hasoris, Brockton's poet laureate emeritus, I have these new words to learn, and friend for continuing the series. I'm Hope Fernandez. I'm an educator, educational administrator, and poet, but most importantly today, I'm your Queen of Ceremonies. Our order of events are open mic, followed by 2 feature poets. So without delay, I introduce you to Stephen Taylor.
My summer at the Harvard Lane Pool. Hello, I'm from Harvard. These were the first words I heard from a friend at campus. He stepped forward and stuck out his hand. We were both tennis counselors at Camp Jackalow on Long Lake People's Name. We spent the summer of '78 together. Following summer, I got a job at LA News in Cambridge, delivering papers. My father's house being only a few towns over. I knew my friend was in grad school, so I stopped by his apartment after work and found he was there. He had dropped out of school and was working at the MIT Fusion Reactor Project. We went over to the Harvard Lampoon building for the afternoon and met his staff, Scott, Tom, and Dan. They call me the editor, he mentioned to me. I stopped by often for the rest of the summer. The Harvard Lampoon building is a parody of the Sphinx. It holds the world's largest human library and is interesting to view from the inside and out. I stopped by once more the following summer, and a girl met me at the door and said Richard had gone to California, so that was the end of my summer at the Harvard Lampoon.
Okay, so up next, our New Heights favorite, Sophia Mohammed.
Hello everyone, my name is Sophia Mohammed. I'm a New Heights scholar. I'm in my junior year, and I'm a poet, entrepreneur, and among many other things, just a woman. So this is one of my newest poems that I wrote. It's called The Lives of Many, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay. A flower has many lives. Someone's first love, someone's first goodbye, someone's joy, someone's idea. A flower is so simple. It has petals and a stem. They're all the same. Each flower is a flower. Yet the life of a flower is glorified, so why is it yours? A person has many lives, whether it be the bully or the bullied, the shy or the loved, the literal or the metaphorical, yet a life is so simple, yet so complex. We glorify the lives on TV, the lives that are shown by the many, the lives that are glorified, loved, and accepted, so why shouldn't yours? That's it.
Thank you, Sophia. And up next is Mark Haggerty.
Okay, I'm reading a recovery report from the VA hospital written by veterans for veterans, the Brockton Resource Recovery Center. It involves a group of veterans to meet once a week, and also the man gentleman that just read is in there too. This is called As Special Ones. They come these days with brightest suns and grass and richest green. They are known as special ones, God's blessing on the scene. They come to smile from pretty one, a smile that's meant for me. They are known as special ones, so glorious to see. They come the rolling, singing waves, the gifts from breath of sea. They are known as special ones that make one dance with glee. They come the songs so gently sung, that kiss upon the ear. They are known as special ones, the ones we love to hear.
Dr. Matthew Henry.
I'm new at New Heights this year, so I didn't know I was a favorite yet.
Oh, you are? Yes.
I'm going to read a poem that I've been thinking about recently. It's from my first full-length collection called The Colored Page. It's about, as one of my former students said, being a raisin in a bowl of milk. I was the only black student at most of my schools and the only black teacher where I used to work, and so now looking at New Heights where I walk into a room and everyone looks like me is very different. This poem is called Self-Evident. As a kid from Boston, the Revolutionary War was my favorite subject in 4th grade. A tea party I could respect, class trips vainly searching for musket balls in Lexington treetops, reading of decapitation by cannonball on Breed's Hill. Even the sites in Southie, unsafe for me to visit, were a source of tribal pride, like rooting for the Patriots. We were told to don our colonial imagination caps and tell our story of emancipation from the British. Where would we be? The Old South Meeting House? The Old North Church? What would we see as we rose to American greatness? Our teachers should hear freedom ringing in the streets through our words. I dropped my head to begin, oversized pencil in hand, until I remembered. Seeing my inaction, she crouched and began to re-explain. I patiently waited for her to finish, eyes on her lips, and then asked if she wanted me to pretend to be white, or to picture myself for sale on the steps of Faneuil Hall, or stacked in one half of the harbor ships heading to and from the West Indies, explaining my parents' patois. After the vocal static, the hems and haws of white noise, she suggested Crispus Attucks, the hometown boy, the black hero of the Boston Massacre. My siblings had taught me the one-drop rule and when to nod my head politely, so I pretended that he was not half Wampanoag, that Framingham was not his master's home, and imagined myself the first unarmed black man shot on these urban streets.
I think you see why he's our favorite.
Yeah.
Up next, we have our new Brockton's Youth Poet Laureate, Adriana DeHady.
Hello, my name is Adriana DeHady. I'm 17, turning 18 in 2 months. I'm a bit nervous. Excuse me if I'm shaking too much. My poem is called The Chapters of Our Love. I made it after a rough breakup, so. Chapters of my love. What is living? I've been on this earth for 17 years, and still I can't find the meaning. So when I explain this to you, I hope you understand. Chapter 1, love is clumsy. The type of love that when I saw you for the first time, I felt my breath hitch. Like the air was being stolen out of my lungs, so when you smiled at me, I felt the stars shine down on me, and that's when I knew you were the one. So I apologize in advance. And when you laugh, that laugh that kept me up at night, that laugh that still keeps me up. Chapter 2, loving you was the last thing I really felt good at. All the love, all the laughs, hugs, kisses, all the I love yous, all the late night talks, the dates, all the time we spent loving each other, the time I spent loving you. They were all mine. You were all mine, so I fought. I fought for what I thought was truly mine, what you told me was mine. So as I fought for this relationship, crying, begging you to stay, questioning what I had done, feeling myself being ripped apart from the inside, you stared. A smile on your face. I questioned everything. What was the point? And you left. Left me stranded, not knowing what to do, so I waited. Chapter 3. I was told that all time heals all wounds, but mine are still open, exposed, bleeding, and you keep cutting me open. Every time you come back with your words of affection, your smile, your laugh, it keeps making me come back time after time. For you, and this hurts. This hurts, this hurts, this hurts. It hurts. It hurts so much. And when I remember the shotgun in my throat and see you holding it, I would still let you shoot me. Time and time again. Chapter 4. There's nothing rational about love. But there was nothing rational about us, so I didn't care at the time. But thinking back to it, maybe it was worth it. Maybe it was worth the pain and the exhaustion I went through for you to love me. And maybe I needed that. The idea that you of all people loved me. That I was the one you smiled at, laughed with, and maybe it was worth it. Maybe my reason for living was you. I'm still not sure. Thank you.
Stephen Holiday, my apologies.
They thinking they can judge me like a calculator trying to name a baby. It may rattle the mind, but never penetrate the heart. For the known loneliness, too long to stab myself with their judgments. To not know what that they are the ones to be ashamed as they push their shame game. Loneliness mixed with alcoholism in the shadow of the enemy ignites within a lit individual with the grace to indulge in acts no sober mind can stomach. For the enemy many ills, loneliness has become its one successor towards me. Though never alone when I am alone, a crowd is normal, not noticing me, but the enemy is not always pointing me at. In this tale of Beauty and the Beast, it is not the beauty that runs from the monster, but the monster that runs from the beauty. For it lives with insecurities. It does not want to be seen. It does not want to be known. For what is normal for the beautiful freaks out the outsider, whose heart is now thrown into a flame, panic, racing thoughts, like trucks driving down highways, only to find a ditch, no key, twisting, turning at life, not known to the outsider. What emotions, what thoughts do I plug in? All the while under the wiles of the enemy. They dare not stop here. They passionately grace in motion through my emotions like charging horns, but with pivoting precision. I envision God of War, Ares. The trumpet of war enters my ear, and it processes in my mind. Even in slow motion, you can hear the grace, the go. It is beyond me what fuels the opposition. Receiving more of the same. The only thing that changes is the intensity. For was it not the tip of the iceberg that tore and sank the Titanic, only to be discovered years later in the ocean deep, and made into a movie, a romantic tale in the midst of a tragic documentary.
And up next, we have Philip Source.
Thank you to all the people who heard on the open mic. We love hearing your voices. As we all know, today is a lot of people are gathering for No King's Day across the United States. And this is the poem I would read at one of these events. It's called Ancient Ruins. A day is but a moment among ruins. Ever-changing years seem to weave a seamless continuum of unbroken time over ancient broken sites. Yet, why does the earth spin on its axis along the same sunny path? Why does this globe carry all our pieces in a closed loop? The mirroring of the sky's blue and white upon the sea draws us into deep reflection, luring us to explore separate oceans in search of our origins. Yet, when do we truly observe each other as fellow specimens of the human species? Are we evolving or are we devolving? We carry within us both the seeds of our salvation and our destruction, evolution and de-evolution coexisting. Scholars often caution us to learn from our past, yet we are condemned to repeat it. What have we learned from the realms of science, mathematics, religion, philosophy, and the grip of greed? Who bestowed upon us these opposable thumbs, capable of both crushing the future and crafting tools for creation? What have we in turn brought into existence? We pride ourselves on compassion, humanity, and intelligence, even as nations lay bleeding between fingers too tiny to hold the future. Why do countless hands crush innocence in the name of what deity? Why do we seek sanctuary, safe passage, refuge, and haven in times of suffering, yet tolerate leaders who avert their gaze or remain willfully blind? Does Mother Earth feel her garden grow barren as her marrow is sucked out, while crimes against humanity regenerate like an infectious cancer? We cry out animal at those who do us injustice, snivel round mouthfuls of burned fat and grizzled spirits as we dread the cries of the silence that speaks to us. Alms, alms, alms for the poor. We wonder at ancient ruins and marvel at what was. I ask you, what do such acts foretell? Will there be anything to wonder about us? I wonder today among the ruins. And many years ago, we filmed Richard Cambridge for a poetry project we were doing. And we filmed him at Walter Pond. And I know he's passionate, as we all should be, about the environment. So this is my poem about the environment. Tears of Mother Earth. This voice spins through fields as the gentle breeze cools. Buttercups rise and fall in graceful meter, yet behind bar palisades, oil rigs mount, soil, iron arms pound, membrane. This voice suffocates beneath treads. Bulldozers penetrate underbelly, sanctuary bleeds. This voice screams. Life sparkles through translucent fibers reflected in the veins of Mother Earth. Roots wind their way, pushing, prodding, venting frustration. Save us in the fertile dust, drinking in the veins, existing in the fetal palms, comforted in the pulse, encompassed in the womb of Mother Earth. Wish I may, wish I might. Starlight, star bright, dimming, clap faster, clap faster. Sun-drenched reflection lifts off the land. Heat pours through openings littered with droplets of discarded waste, oozing pathetic reminders of the beautiful life. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is fairest, biting red polished apple? Life dwindles in timeless essence, shrouded in the ghost of Mother Earth. Discard the fruits, ignore the sacrifice. Rip the flesh. Little red, ah, the wolf. How does it feel when sharp teeth bite? Scars reopen old wounds, scorched, blistered images, abused, taunted, whipped without mercy. Arteries sliced with the dullness of uncaring minds, poisoning the lifeblood that drops like acid, oozing pathetic reminders of the beautiful life. The emperor has no clothes. The emperor has no skin. The emperor has no bones. Sin who betrayed by such salt. Ancient warriors weep in battle, dropped to their knees. Mighty children cut from their roots. Jack has all the treasures, nothing to plant. The giant is dead. The self-indulgent conquer the valiant. Forgive us in our absolute power, wasted in absolute ignorance, deluded by our own consequences. This still small voice laments, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. The beautiful bird sits, no longer singing in the nest. The garden barren, marrow sucked out, few bones left to be broken, outstretched arms of Mother Earth. There's blood in the shoe too small, stained red, the clock strikes. The threshold, how much more can you take? Disrobe, dissect, disintegrate. What limit? Where are the breadcrumbs? Where are the breadcrumbs? I want to go home. Mother Earth, your tears. Before I bring up Hope, I have an exciting announcement to make. So in April, we will have Educator Showcase, and that's honoring and celebrating our educators and having them read their poetry. One of the special things we do is we have what's called the Willie Wilson Jr. Award, and it honors a single teacher. And this year, it will be Hope Fernandez. Hope Fernandez.
Wow. I'm processing the Willie Wilson Award. Grateful for it. We'll deal with that in April. For now, I've been asked to read a poem that I've retired. It's called Deathbed. At the last moment, my wish is that my body might still be moving. Let it quiver and jerk if it must, like a female cat that's just been mated. Or, like the epileptic whose brain charges shoot shock waves across the nerves, let it spasm joints into frolicsome throes, muscles and tendons tugging at each other like branches in a hailstorm. Let the entire apparatus be thrown into unappeased contortions if it must. Or let it tremble like aspen leaves on the banks of a sluggish sun-dappled stream. I am not choosy. It can rise towards a rapturous embrace if that's what it wants, with death's ecstatic thrust, or out of terror of finality, the slam down of iron gates into granite walls. It has my permission to squirm and cower if it wishes, or simply form persistent nail drives of pain. It may need to lie on the bed drenched in sweat, no ice towel cools, and simply right there in blistering sheets. Anything will do, just let it move. What motion it chooses? At least let all those queasy voyeurs, nurses, family, those who wait to cart off the corpse, get gaze stupefied, speech riven from them, with only platter-wide eyes, merciless and morbid like gawkers at car crashes, like mobs that mill at great fires. And after that, let them drink their fill. Get their fill. Let them speak my death dance. Yeah, even the last generations. Let me be the hand-me-down story, that thread that gathers the family along its genes, so that multitudes of great-grandchildren who never read a poem will know an ancestor put up a last fight. But whatever movement erupts, let my body stage it, not the green pin of light on the screen that flickers, an imperceptible pulse that flickers lower, lower, lower. until the unwavering line is all that's left? What does a line know about how my body lifted to the crest of sex, or how it played through the wash of spring rain for hours, how it chopped down trees as tall as itself, how it swam? And this poem for this week, everyone's been asking me all sorts of information about relationships and whatnot, and so I didn't have a poem until around 5:30 this morning. And the poem came about because I usually start the morning and I read the Psalms. And I opened the Bible that my parents gave me, and inside of it fell a picture that I haven't seen in 20 years. Of the two of them, I snapped a photo in bed holding hands in their sleep. And so from that, I wrote this: The Art of Holding Hands. She moved through life like a parade float, glittering, blooming, and slightly on fire. Tossing a Viceroy Light 100s into the July wood stove like a magician hiding her final trick. I quit, she declared, with all the conviction of a presidential address, while the house filled with the scent of scorched pine and the musk of tobacco. He didn't flinch. He didn't raise an eyebrow. Just emptied the BMW's ashtray again, muttering to their daughter, "We should tell her about the car. She doesn't seem to know I emptied the ashtray." She worshipped the gods of Gucci and Chanel, lived in diamonds, Calvin Klein jeans, and bags with names and egos of their own. "Look what I won," she'd shout, as if Saks or Jordan Marsh had sent her a trophy for surviving the week. He was quieter, but no less cunning, sat at the coffee table with 4 hands playing cards laid out on a coffee table, his own private tournament. Played all hands himself, a philosopher in Florsheim, hedged bets like chain smoked daily unapologetically with full commitment and a subtle grin. She zipped past in a Saab convertible, wind combing through her hair, the sun drawn to her like a spotlight. He preferred his Chevy. Unflashy, steady, a moving confessional with cassette tape player for his Cape Verdean tunes and a reliable muffler. She flew to beach resorts with the girls, her friends, ordering frozen cocktails with paper umbrellas while she, the non-drinker, chain-smoked and yelled at iguanas. He sat in his little boat, fishing quietly, pondering mortality, listening to the water like it might whisper the meaning of life. She was a wildflower, unpruned and unruly, blooming where logic said nothing should grow. He, a hosta, rooted reliably, the kind of man who showed up without being asked. He never swore, left the room if someone did. "Damn it," she yelled at the neighbor's dog for fertilizing the yard again. He'd just walk outside, remove the matter, and pretend not to hear. She said, "God damn the price of bananas, the weather, the kids leaving butts in the driveway." He just got up and swept things in silence, pulled the weeds, listened. They never fought with venom, a pact made as a living vow. They skipped shouting matches, mastered the fine art of extended silence. Days, sometimes a week. She clanged around the kitchen, he disappeared into a cousin's living room, listening to family stories while sipping instant coffee and nodding like a sage monk in a dress shirt. And yet every time, in the blue-black quiet of 4 a.m., you could peek in their door and see it. Her fingers decked in rings, gripping his hand like she might float away if he let go. His fingers calloused and calm, wrapped around hers with a loyalty older than logic. 67 years, one child, one house that always smelled like smoke and lemon pledge, card games with himself, all-inclusive getaways with margarita photos, silence and screaming, hostas and wildflowers. For some, love burns like a cigarette ash, red and gray. Others, it anchors like a boat. Theirs did both. In the end, When the house was dark and all the cigarettes burned down to nothing, you'd still find them in sleep, fingers laced, betting it all again on each other. Let me introduce to you Richard Cambridge. Richard's writing has appeared in the Patterson Literary Review, Nantucket Journal, the Asheville Poetry Review. He authored Pulse, a Book of Books, a poetry collection praised by Robert Pinsky as full of heart, sincere ambition, and a genuine devotion to the mysteries of language. Richard also wrote The Cigarette Papers, a memoir of addiction, which he adapted into a one-man play. This play premiered at the Institute of Contemporary Art and was called A Tour de Force by the Boston Globe. Richard received the Allen Ginsberg Poetry Prize and was a finalist for the residency of the Fine Art Workshop in Provincetown. He's a Boston Championship Slam team poet, won the Master Slam in 1997, and in 2011 he earned an MFA in creative writing from the University of Maine, where he completed his final novel, Ride, inspired by his hitchhiking journey. Richard is currently developing a new novel, 1970, an alternative history inspired by his experience with the Black Panthers, imagining a successful revolution in America. He is also a fellow emeritus at the Black Earth Institute and a think tank promoting art awareness. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you all. What a wonderful, warm crowd this is. Thanks, Phil, for asking me to come here. It was many years ago, 20, not sure. But your last comment, was, yeah, we are in kind of bleak times, but that's what they are. I wanted to start off with a poem about the environment. It was actually a successful battle. The province of Quebec wanted to mouth off the neck of James Bay and create a power plant, the largest in the world, to sell all the electricity down to the United States as a way of getting independence from Canada. And they got so far in their project, and there was such a protest that they had to stop the project in its tracks. And so this is James Bay. I've been hearing the words of the Premier. Yeah, he's been wagging his tongue. He talks about cheap electricity. He says, we've got energy to burn. He's saying it straight to the lower 48. We'll light up your shopping malls, condition the air in Manhattan, make mountains of snow in the fall. It's clean and it's safe, it's really okay, there's nothing going on up in James Bay. So Hydro-Quebec shakes hands with the devil and trades the flesh of the Inuit and Cree to Westinghouse and the Electric General, who sells all the power to you and to me. Now that you start squirting through the wire and children in warm New England houses play, and Granny sits by electric fire while hell's freezing over up in James Bay. But I'd rather hear the thwack of a beaver's tail as it echoes across the lake, or a snap of a twig under the hoof of a deer that runs to the break, or follow to the north the caribou trail with the Cree who hunt to put food on the plate. But some giant jacks been ripping the earth, slashing the rivers to flood out the plains, polluting all the waters with houses of power, clearing the forest until nothing remains. Now mothers can't breastfeed their children for the mercury running in their blood, and the salmon all swimming in circles, and the moose are stuck in the mud. You got a fist of iron, but your feet are made of clay, and you're gonna get broken if you don't stop stepping on James Bay. Meanwhile, down in the Empire State, the mountains are bare. The skiers can't wait, so electric hoses spit out the flakes in artificial winter. And in northern Quebec, there's no one around. No animal tracks are seen on the ground. You can't even hear a whisper of sound. It's way up in the hinter. What is not dying is flying away. It's getting real quiet up in James Bay. This is, we just had Indigenous Peoples Weekend last weekend. They changed it from Columbus Day some years ago. And at some point, with a troop of people, formed a troop called Where the Red Road Runs. And with the idea of looking at this invasion from the perspective of the people who were seeking the invasion, whose lands were displaced. I know right now this place wasn't originally called Brockton. There was some indigenous name, I'm not sure what it is, but it was the land of the Wampanoag, I believe. So this is where the Red Road runs. Enter the mouth of my speaking. Taste the words of my tongue. The words that the people are seeking, the path where the red road runs. Touch the heart of my beating, the pulse and the rhythm of the drums. To the drums the people are dancing on the path where the red road runs. Witness the loins of my stirring where I birth my daughters and sons, and know that my people awaken on the path where the red road runs. Now feel the belly of my hunger, but know that my people are strong. My people are rising in anger on the path where the red road runs. Our flesh is red. We dwelled in the land kissed by the sun. We dressed in hides of the four-footed tribes, and were one with the earth and the bark and the stone. We followed the path of the red road, and were guided by the seasons of the moon. They came on wooden ships in skins so pale, in robes of black, with a cross of silver and a lust for gold, and they took the power of the smoking gun. The path they followed was crooked, and their words forked on their tongue. They chased us from the land of the daybreak star to where the sun sets in the west. They took away our land, and we were penned like bison marooned on reservations in the plain. And what was left was divided among the people, and our portion was less than nothing. And our rulers were gamblers and gunmen, blessed by the missionaries who stole the spirits of our children and crucified us in the moon of red cherries. They planted ribbons of steel, and the rusty snake coiled our field and choked out our harvest, and the earth was turned to dust. They strung our field with their talking wires, and the buffalo were scattered as the barrels of steel spat fire, and the buffalo were turned to dust. For the harvest of their seed was steel, and the fruit of the steel is rust. They fed us their culture, and the bodies of the tribes were consumed by their disease. And there were none but evil to witness when they wrapped us around in blankets of sickness, and spring turned to summer, and summer to fall, as we fell in the moon of the falling leaves. Oh, with men, great poet with your white beard and your barrel-chested destiny, and your great white words realizing westward off the page, like the spreading of their seed working westward. Mad poet babbling about the rivers and the stone towers scraping the sky, and the bridges with steel fingers, and the glow of the factories, the bright fires of the night, and the pounding on the anvils, the sparks flying from the anvils. How so beautiful, you say, how so much like hell. And your people spreading like locusts, eating up the fields of the forest and the corn, mad on their wheels, mad in their turning, mad in all their desires, sucking up the rivers until the beds are dry, sucking the breasts of our mother, sucking up all the air from the sky, and saying, this is our destiny, and we will make it manifest. Thank you. I have a calendar to sell over there. It's a moon calendar. It's an unusual calendar. It's not like the Roman calendar they do is January, February. It's actually a spiral calendar based on the cycles of the moon. So you get an extra month on the moon calendar, because there's 13 cycles in a year, 24 weeks in a month. And there's the Celtic spirituality, astronomy, astrology. Each month has a different tree, and each tree has a special magic that goes with it. So it's just unusual. And this is the 50th anniversary edition. My friend Nancy Passmore has been doing this for 50 years, almost by herself. It's one of the few calendars still printed in the US and not in China. And God bless her. Or goddess bless her, I should say. And at some point she asked me to be the poetry editor, which is a real treat. And so I'm going to read 2 short poems from the lunar calendar that appeared in one of your issues. This is called "The Moon Gets Hungry." And it's sort of a seasonal poem now when we're having the harvest moon and the frost moon. So this is sort of the harvest moon. You gotta watch it when the moon gets down to her crescent. She gets in these moods when she wanes. I saw her sneak up on Orion, steal his belt, hook herself on the buckle, and come out swinging. Forget the wheat and the harvest, she was out for blood. Rams, bulls, lions, crabs, fish, scorpions, humans, she was gonna make herself a stew. You better watch it when the moon gets hungry. You better hide until she's full. And this is almost full, when the moon is sort of like, it looks to me like an egg, so I call it the egg moon. If the moon is not full, it's because she's busy gathering coins from all the world's fountains. She wishes just once she could turn her dark cheek, strip you with a glance, blush you with shadow. Knowledge comes in phases. A trick of light. A stick not bent in the water is a wand. And this next poem is for my sweetheart, Elizabeth, who's with us today, and who celebrated her birthday yesterday. And when we met, we found we had we shared an unusual passion. And so this is about that passion. It's called Beach Glass. I am a collector of beach glass, and I've been one for many a season. I can tell from a shard no larger than my thumbnail, from the arc of its curve, from its shape, weight, and thickness, even from the angle of its breaking, its origin on a bottle, base, body, neck, rim. And with each piece I find, I like to stop and rest for a while, turning it over carefully between thumb and forefinger, noting its color, amber, green, clear. Its source, soda, beer, whiskey, wine bottle, and its size, nip, pint, fifth, quart, or magnum. But the luster, it's all in the luster. It's got to be frosted like gumdrops. No shine or clarity, but opaque. And if it's not perfect, if there's a shine or a glitter or a rough edge catches my finger, then I toss it back to the sea like I would an undersized lobster to be buffeted by the waves and the sand and harvested in another season. These bits of colored glass I find are as dear to me as rubies, diamonds, and emeralds, and semi-precious stones. And I'd like to think what I would do with them. I would make a necklace for a gypsy bride, smith them into silver bracelets and send them to every woman I have ever loved, and make a mosaic of unknown design in thanks for every poem I've ever written, and offer it to the wind, the sea, and the sun. This aimless path I walk between bits of broken glass is the only thing I know, the only thing I hold on to. I will be back in another season's harvest. I've been collaborating in the last 5 years with singer-songwriter from Switzerland by the name of George Henning. We met online, and we sort of dug each other's work, we loved his albums, and so we decided to collaborate. I would write the lyrics, and then he would set them to music. And sometimes, you know, he would come back to me and say, I think really this is a spoken word piece, I'll create the sound behind it, and you know, you speak of it. And this was one of the pieces. I don't have the music with me, but I'll read it as a poem. It's for the children of Gaza. It's for Palestinians, the original children descended from Jacob and Esau, who were twins. People of Israel, and his first Jacob, they were, and Esau, they were inside their mom, Rebecca, and they were wrestling with each other, the Palestinians and the Israelis, and they're still doing that today. And as the story goes back in Genesis, Jacob stole his blessing from his older brother, Esau, and that's sort of what's playing out today. And so this is from the perspective of Esau or their descendants, Palestinians. I came in from the forest. My arrows were so thirsty. I quivered in my hunger, I could barely stand. I sat before your fire as you roasted the lamb. Oh, brother, won't you feed me? I am who I am. Oh, brother, don't you know who I am? We wrestled in our mother and we played before our father. I became a hunter and you tended the land. Who drew the sword between us? Was it God or was it man? You measured out my hunger. You bargained for my birthright. I had nothing left to offer as you measured out my lands. I gazed into the future, saw blood and swords raging. You were shattered to the nations, chains and numbers on your hands. I counted the numbers on your hands. Centuries passed, no place to rest. You wandered in the wilderness. You were the uninvited guest in every home. I kept the peace and blessed the land. I pressed the oil and I spiced the land. Flowers blossomed in the sand. I kept the hearth for your return. Oh, brother, do you see me when you gaze into the glass? Do you see my eyes looking back, looking back? Do you see the cracks in the glass? What will we do with the shattered glass? We wrestled in our mother. We played before our father. How did I become the hunted? How did you claim the land? Who drew the sword between us? Was it God? Or was it man? This one's from my dear friend Ralph, who's with us today. He's a marvelous poet, playwright, painter, musician. You can go on and on. But this was one of the other songs I had written for my friend George. And little did I know that Ralph was following a parallel path because he put a painting that was the image of what this song was about before I sent it to him. So when I sent him this poem, he goes, golly, it's on my wall, Richard, what the heck's going on here? So it's called The Code. There's a tree in the field beside the long road that everyone travels and everyone knows. The branches are twisted and the roots run deep with answers to questions of the secrets you keep. A wind rustles the limbs as the pilgrims pass by, leaves fall to the ground in whispers and cries with a message from each so it's hidden in code. And it's only revealed if you follow the road. A stranger stands. Oh, this is okay. This is okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. A stranger. Okay. A stranger stands at the bend of the road. Your heart trembles, but you know you must go. He turns to face you, tears start to flow. Your heart is uncertain, but you know you must go. He looks through your eyes and into your soul, where you've hidden the map, though it's written in code. You want to turn back, but he points down the road. It's the way that you've chosen, and you know you must go. Sometime next week, the General Assembly gathers together every October. All the nations of the earth. There's about 190 of them, large and small, great and powerful and very poor. And they'll come together with the United Nations and they try to get things done for the betterment of the planet. This was formed after World War II, when there was such desolation. And one of the codes that they've written up was different criteria for genocide. And one of the criteria for genocide is to blockade a nation, to deprive them of receiving food or trading in their currency or getting medicine freely on the open market. And for now 63 years, the U.S. has still maintained a blockade on the island nation of Cuba, which is just basically our neighbor. You know, we have borders with Canada and with Mexico, and Cuba's only 90 miles off our shore. And they maintain this blockade. Why? We don't know. Every year for 3 years, 188 nations vote to end the blockade, that the U.S. should just let it be. And 2 nations vote to keep the blockade, the United States and Israel. When I was growing up, one of the lessons I learned from my mom was if you ever did something wrong, you should make it right. And I remember one day she seemed to be nervous in the kitchen. It couldn't have been more than 4 or 5, and she grabbed a bowl of sugar. And she said, I've got to go next door. So-and-so needs some sugar. And it just puzzled me, as it would. And I later found out it was a pretext to offer a gift to settle whatever it was that was going on. And I feel that this nation, our country, should do that with Cuba. So this is, let's call it a prophetic wish. America, come out of your house, take an empty bowl, and leave by your kitchen door, and go south to your neighbor's house. Knock on her door and ask forgiveness, and ask to borrow some sugar. When she invites you in, accept. If she offers you coffee, take it black or with milk. Use the sugar she has given you in the bowl that is yours, in her house, and sit down before she motions to the table, and let there be something on your mind, something common, perhaps your children. And when she finds no words for astonishment, let the space between you open. Don't fill it with words. Let it be filled with the bread of silence. And wait patiently while she waits upon grace to turn the vinegar back to wine. A smile, a sonrisa on her ravaged face. Then reach across the table, offer your hand, saying nothing, saying everything, giving thanks with your neighbor, your new friend. Thank you very much.
So as I said before, I was her mentor. I was hired to teach someone how to be a teacher when they already knew how to teach. Nicole Timms, many things. She's a lover of writing, a mother, a feminist, a Latina, a philosophy scholar, an educator, every single thing this woman does is with passion. She's not capable of doing anything like all energy, all fire. And so without any other introduction, I introduce you to Nicole Timmons.
Okay, hello everyone. It is an honor to be here today. I need to thank Philip and Hope for inspiring me, for encouraging me, and for honestly nudging me back on the stage. So yesterday, I walked into Mr. Ferrera's classroom, where students were learning about John Stuart Mill. Without even thinking it through, I chimed in, subjection of women. This man wrote passionately about the radical notion that women are people back in the 1800s. This sparked a conversation on feminism. What is it? What it isn't? And soon the students were engaged in a lively back and forth dialogue. It reminded me of what is at stake today in America. Free speech and the importance of educating our young, not on what to think, but how to think. Today I also think of Langston Hughes and his words, I too am American. As a Latina, as a feminist, as a teacher, as a mother, and a poet, I am so grateful to see the faces of my community reflected back at me today. I believe we need more, not less poetry. We need more spaces where creativity and critical consciousness can coexist. Just as it did yesterday in a New Heights classroom with New Heights students, some of which I see here right now. I'm going to share some of my poems with you right now, and I hope they can spark something inside of you. Thank you all for being here and sharing this space with me. Okay, here we go. When a person dies, we lose a library. When a person dies, we lose a library. Shelves collapse quietly, spines give way to dust, and every dog-eared memory, every underlined thought floats up like ash. Their laughter, a marginal note we'll never decipher again. Their hands, the librarians of tenderness, knowing exactly which page to turn to find comfort. Each sigh, a bookmark left between sentences we never got to finish. Each scar, a footnote written in flesh. And the stories, God, the stories, the half-told ones, the ones they meant to tell when they had more time. All those fragments scatter like paper, caught in wind, as if the air itself were a frantic archivist, trying to keep hold of what's gone. When a person dies, their library card expires, but the checkout lines remain. Their love unknown in the people they touched, their words cataloged in the minds that remember. We build memorials out of fragments, a favorite mug, a voicemail saved too long, the way they said your name, the way they said your name. Each artifact, a chapter rescued from the fire. And yet, how strange, how holy that we too are walking stacks of other people's stories. We carry their quotes, their syntax, their rhythm. We are annotated by their presence. So when a person dies, we lose a library, yes, but we also gain a secret reading room in the heart. A dim, endless archive where if we listen closely, we can still hear the whisper of turning pages. So this one is for my son. He's been reading Game of Thrones. It's called The Mockingjay Rises.
Hunger Games. Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, sorry. I'm nervous. Thank you, Sean. That one. That dystopian tale. All right, in the grand arena of justice, take your seat, where toddlers defend themselves. Isn't that neat? Oh, the irony of a fairy tale court, where innocence is sport and truth falls short. Welcome to the land of the free, they say, where skin color decides who gets to stay. A tattoo's now a mark of villainy here in this circus of justice driven by fear. Step right up to the Trump show, folks, where narcissism reigns and logic chokes, building walls and banning humans like me with glee. It's all part of the absurdity spree. Latinos vanish, streets grow bare, names whispered softly, erased in air. Chicago trembles under military eyes. Sirens wail beneath blood-red skies. Welcome to the land of the free. And liberty is a marquee sign flickering over chaos, while billionaires dine on our dime. Press barred from halls where truth should speak, while the powerful rob the powerless weak. In Gaza, children cry for bread. Drowns hum low, filling the skies with dread. While Gaza burns, Trump grins. A river of bombs, famine at hand. Real estate opportunity clears the land. Judges' houses burn. State reps silence cold. Judges jailed, their stories left untold. Cries of the weak vanish into the night. A universe skewed where might defines right. So grab your popcorn and join the charade as justice and sanity begin to fade. In this carnival of power and spite, we revel in shadows devoid of light. Raise a glass to the badness, our new parade, where the lines are blurred and the pipers paid. But listen close, hear that clamor and shout. That's the sound of change without a doubt. We raise our voices in satirical glee to now point out the absurdity we see. Protest today with panache, let irony reign, till even the birds join our refrain. Their wings beat truths the brave one sings, through smoke and static freedom rings, and the mockingjay sings, no kings. For in jest we find our right to fight, to drag truth back into the light. Dystopian tales, now headlines we face, as fiction and reality share the same space. The grammar of losing. I never knew what I meant to say, only that silence kept it saying it for me. A hole in the air, the shape of an almost, the ghost of Pablo Neruda, scraping his fingers down my spine, urging me to speak, to name you, to make language bleed again. Too old for sonnets, I tell myself, and yet one rises in my throat, its bones clicking back into place. Love refuses to age gracefully. It keeps growing wild from the cracks in my ribs. Loss lives in me like inheritance. I lose things. Glasses, socks, balance, whole months of memory. It is only natural, inevitable, that I would misplace your voice too. 200 months without you, and still the silence hums like a train wreck I can't turn away from. The fan hums your ghost in its wind, and I close my eyes for a few seconds. Its breath becomes your breath, its hum your heartbeat. Could this be you? From the void you appear, distant still, the unbridgeable country. Drunk on mixed emotions, both shaken and stirred, I stumble through the china shop of my vocabulary, breaking every word that once held you. Still, I want to strut toward your accents, unfettered, stallion strong, and say, don't ever forget my name. See, I have seen you perform your quiet miracles, not wine into water, but doubt into daring. You took the tremor in my hands and turned it into song. Under your gaze, the stars forgot their places. You gathered light by the handful, pressed it against my skin until I shimmered with the memory of belonging. For a breathless instant, I could not tell if the heavens had fallen into me or if I had simply risen to meet them. Now the fan hums. Your absence hums. My heart hums. each a variation of the same lost chord. Neither of us were looking for love, and yet here it lingers, a burn that refuses to blister over. You were blinding, a flare caught in human form. I saw your light and did not run. I stayed transfixed, knowing I'd lose my words, my balance, and still I call it worth it. Now I whisper into the static. When you speak, will my ears still multiply? Will your voice find its way up my spine to the pillow of my brain? The fan hums on. Your name hums through it. And for a few seconds, I can almost remember you. Okay, this one is called The Cabinet We Call Home. It's about aging. I'm in my early 40s, but I've had a lot of health issues, so I feel like an old soul in an old body. All right, the cabinet we call home. My body creaks and groans like a clunky cabinet of bones. Each hinge a reminder that my warranty has long since expired. A symphony of squeaks keeping time with mortality. I am my own percussion section rattling against the silence. Oh, youth! Blissfully unaware of the tidal waves of aches waiting to crash over them. I weep at the end of every sitcom. Not because the jokes aren't funny, but because I can hear our finales hiding in the laugh track. Photos lie, every filtered grin promising immortality, as if one more selfie could trick time into believing I'm still 20 and flexible, instead of groaning my way out of bed, like a door that hasn't been oiled since Clinton was in office. It's fun. All right, we're all standing outside of ourselves, dissecting the good, the bad, the slightly tragic. We shroud the head for detachment, pretending we can study life like it's a specimen. But the hands remember. They once held others, wiped tears, burned themselves on stoves, and then held on too tight and then let go. And maybe that's it. Maybe humanity isn't in the grand thoughts, but it's in the cracks. The laugh lines, the chipped teeth. The morning we realize we make old person noises just by sitting down. And is this the grand prize of aging? Acceptance of life's ultimate punchline? Because if it is, I'll take it. Seriously though, I do miss being clueless, wandering through life like a young, drunk philosopher, lost as ever, but glowing all the same. Now I'm still clueless, much less dazzling, and perpetually tired, my breath catching halfway up the stairs. A reminder that lungs, too, grow nostalgic for air. But here's the thing, we can't mourn ourselves while we're still here. The fact that everything ends is what makes it worth living. So I'll hold on to the eternal joke, resisting the pull of the final curtain, hoping for an encore. Not a Pixar ending, but something quieter. Light spilling through a half-open window. Dust dancing in the air. The soft applause of my own heartbeat saying, "You're still here." A cabinet of bones, creaking, groaning, still dancing. No end, no beginning, just the ongoing rhythm of being. This poem is for Daniel Anton, a student of mine, and this is inspired by helping him write his college application essay the other day. And I'm going to let you guys decide which one I read because I have two versions. So we're going to make this participatory. Would you like the punchy spoken word version of the never-ending story, or would you like a lyrical?
Who's got a coin?
Okay, same poem, different versions. So I'm going to, like a teacher, ask you to show your hands. Who would like a spoken word, punchy version of this poem? Raise your hands. All right, somebody do the counting because I'm not good at this. All right, I think there's like maybe 15, 14 hands. Okay, who would like, hands down, lyrical, rhymey kind? Oh. Sean, call it.
Lyrical, yeah, someone for lyrical.
You want lyrical. That was his vote. All right, we'll do that. Okay, the never-ending story. The never-ending story. I know she's gonna get embarrassed. I'm an 80s child. It's a really good movie. You should all see it. All right, the never-ending story. Ernest Hemingway once said, is moving on with a broken heart, to stand when all you want is rest, to wear your sorrow like a vest. Life does not pause for aching bones, for shattered dreams or muted tones. It marches on, unyielding cold, demanding strength from young and old. We learned as children fairy tales of heroes brave whose courage prevails. But life unmasks the soft deceit that triumph rarely feels complete. No gleaming sword, no swelling song, no, just quiet souls who still hold strong, who lift their grief, though barely whole, and drag it towards some distant goal. There is no grace in carrying pain, no halo shining in the rain. Yet in the hush between each breath, we cheat despair, we outlast death. We whisper truths we wish we'd known. We learn to stand, though not alone. We patch our hearts, the frayed, the torn, and greet each day, reborn, reborn. Yet the weight is cruel, unfair, but still we move through thickened air. Each trembling step, each weary mile, a quiet act of human trial. And maybe this is what it means to live between our shattered dreams, to walk through fire, soft and slow, and still believe the light will grow. I have two more. Whispers of Eternity. In the silent garden of being, where time carves its legacy with invisible hands, I stand a monolith of memories, a granite chest of stones weathering storms of seconds. But within a river runs a murmuring soul that dances with the cadence of teardrops, spilling over edges, seeping into the cracks of my stone-cast will. Echoes of a former self whispered in the wind, once etched in fervent fire across the sky, a tapestry of dreams, vibrant, unyielding, now soft hues bleeding into the dusk of years, washing away the fervor of youth's relentless drum. Yet beneath the surface where shadows sleep, love's gentle current still ebbs and flows, carrying fragments of forgotten days, resurrecting moments delicate and close. So here's the cosmic joke laid bare. I am water, mostly a fluid scape. Yet part of me obstinate feels like stone, defiant, enduring, shaped by time's relentless drape. But even stone is not just stone, you see. It's carbon, it's stardust, it's you, it's me. Born from the explosions of ancient suns, we're the living contradiction, the paradox one. In the dance of impermanence, we find our beat, a harmony in discord, bitter and sweet. For in our design, the eternal and the ephemeral twine together as rose and thorns thrust into our sides. We are but stardust, suspended in time. This poem is dedicated to Richard Cambridge, who did grace the stage. I'm actually very happy that you went first, because it made me less nervous, and you were very inspiring. You did not read one of the poems that I did see and love, and it's on the internet, so everyone can go and Google it, 10 Flowers by Richard Cambridge. It's beautiful. And so when I knew that I was sharing the stage with him, I was like, oh crap, now I gotta write a poem about flowers. So I did. And this poem is actually linked to a really important core memory of my grandmother. So thank you. And thank you for sharing the stage. One more thing before I read my last poem with you all. You have all been so gracious. If you need to stretch, my butt was hurting. Get up, stretch. And I'm gonna tell you a little story before I start the poem. It's about a coworker. Okay, so it's hard. Poetry is many things to many people, but I admit it's not always easy. You start to tune out when you're listening to other people's poems, right? I get it, right? But sometimes a poem is so beautiful, it stops you dead in your tracks. The other day, one of my colleagues, during my prep period, decided to share their entire book of poetry with me and said, oh, no one else has read this except for maybe one other person. Would you like to look at it? So gracious, so kind. And I start reading, and the very first poem in the book, I'm telling you, stopped me dead in my tracks. I was supposed to do some grading that period. I read that entire book of poetry. And I've gotten permission to share their poem about flowers. So it's my prelude, if you will. Okay. Shrinking violet. I say I'm sorry before I even enter a room.
I'm a flower that withers away before I even get the chance to bloom. My words wilt on the tip of my tongue, brown and shriveled. I'm the spring that never sprung. Okay, so here's my poem. She's right there, Mama Nina. She had 21 kids, legendary lady, happened to be my grandmother. I was there for summer in Columbia, and she gave me purple flowers that look reminiscent of those ones there. And I dried them, and I brought them home. This is the story. Flowers from my grandmother's hands. What if flowers offered us salvation? Some small mercy from the rock we feel every time we turn on the news or hear about another ice raid. Another name disappeared into paperwork and silence. My grandmother offered me purple flowers on my 13th birthday, picked from the fields that leaned against mountains we had owned for centuries. Or maybe they owned us, guarded us, kept our stories rooted deep in the soil. Straight out of 100 Years of Solitude, she spread her arms like wings across the sky, and she said, all of this is ours, and I believed her. These flowers, small, powerful deities wrapped in cellophane, I carried them through the clouds, 6 hours of turbulence and memory, sancocho still lingering on my tongue, the scent of horses and wind that spoke in Spanish prayers, until I crossed the threshold of U.S. Customs. Between the panes of glass and starched uniforms, my prize turned into suspicion, their gaze heavy as empire. My flowers confiscated, torn apart by a New York state of mind. Enjoy your day, the officer said, handing me back the broken stems, as if I hadn't just watched history bruise itself in front of me. But you see, this story didn't start with Trump, and it doesn't end with him either. A purple flower crushed by ignorance turns into pigment, the same pigment that writes these very lines. Because my grandmother, she knew how to tell a story. She taught me that a flower fed by the soil of those mountains still lives inside me, even if it's crushed, even if she now sleeps in that same soil. Flowers on graves, flowers on Valentine's Day, flowers on wedding days, and on days we bury what we love. Flowers for every persuasion and occasion, and sometimes flowers inside the barrel of a gun. But here's the thing, almost every petal, every stem, every soft reminder of beauty comes from fucking Columbia, from the soil of my ancestors. So when I speak in blooms and roots, in resistance wrapped in fragrance. I am the grandchild of soil and rebellion. I am every petal that refused to die. And I say, may the world choke on its stereotypes while I keep blooming anyway.
Yes. Definitely passion. Thank you, everyone. It's so lovely to have a full room in such New Heights pride. New Heights is a very special place, and I'm happy and grateful to be a part of it. Sadly, next month we will not have an Everyone Has a Voice poetry series because someone's going on a cruise and someone's going to a conference. So, but we will have on November 1st. Please join us at 1:30 for Voices of Diversity, which will be held downstairs, where we will celebrate Haitian Creole, Wampanoag, Greek, Spanish, Turkish, Cantonese, Italian, Russian, Ukrainian, French, and youth poetry. It's an annual event. Please join us, and thank you for coming.